Gallagher brings us the story from Los Angeles tonight. Hey, Trace.
Hey, Shannon, this is all part of Proposition 63, which was passed by California voters in 2016. The law, among other things, bans large-capacity magazines and requires ammunition purchases to be made face-to-face. In other words, you can't buy it online or across state lines. The NRA and the California Rifle and Pistol Association call it unprecedented and an overreach, saying California gun owners are tired of being treated like criminals. Watch.
What I don't understand is why I need one permit to buy a firearm and another permit to buy ammunition. I just worry that the state is going to keep going to the point where they try to make it inconvenient to just buy a gun.
California Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom, who's running for governor, says the law was written on solid ground, and he's vowing to fight the NRA, which Newsom says is putting profits over lives. This all comes amid the national debate over gun control in the wake of the shooting in Parkland, Florida. Fred Gutenberg, the father of a Parkland shooting victim, tweeted, quoting, "This is why I say the NRA is the problem. The citizens of California voted, and now the NRA is suing to overturn the will of the people. They must be defeated." But pro-gun advocates are pushing back. Quote, "The truth is that no amount of gun control will ever satisfy anti-gun extremists in the California legislature. They're seeking to set a standard for the rest of the country and must be defeated." Meantime, students who are frustrated with the message that all young people oppose the Second Amendment are planning their own school walkout tomorrow called the Stand for the Second. The protest was pioneered by 18-year-old Will Riley, a non-gun-owning senior in Carlsbad, New Mexico, who says his generation is being generalized and that, quote, "I think we have an obligation to define ourselves." So far, students in 300 schools from 42 states plan to join the 16-minute walkout, again recognizing each student who was murdered at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High. This walkout is well short of the 2,000 schools involved in the national school walkout back on March 14th, but it is significant nonetheless. Shannon.
All right, Trace, we'll be watching that. We know you will as well. Thank you.
Yep.
More now on this lawsuit challenging Prop 63 in California. It was approved by more than 60% of voters there in 2016. Well, Kim Rhode is a six-time Olympic medalist who's at the center of a new lawsuit over the state's so-called bullet control laws. She's one of several plaintiffs challenging the law. Kim, welcome. Great to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And by the way, folks, she just got back from South Korea where she broke her own world record. And so even with jet lag and everything else, she's joining us tonight to talk about this. And I heard a little bit about the fact that you may go through 500 to 1,000 rounds a day. This for you comes down to being able to get the ammunition you need to be able to practice and train for these competitions. So how does the law impact your ability to do that?
Well, the law impacts me in a very major way. A great example is, like you said, I shoot 500 to 1,000 rounds a day, 7 days a week, and the ammunition that I'm required to shoot in my sport is very specialized. It's not something that I can buy at any of the ranges that I train at. It's provided to me from the Olympic Training Center or USA Shooting, in my case. They would either mail it to me or give it to me at a shoot, at which point I would drive it across state lines, and both of those are now deemed illegal under Prop 63. So I have a major problem of trying to obtain the ammo that I need to be able to practice and compete at the level that is required to bring home those gold medals for the United States.
Well, I want to read something that the Lieutenant Governor there, Gavin Newsom, had to say about these challenges. He says, by the way, he's running for governor, "We wrote Proposition 63 on solid legal ground." Later on, going on to say, "California voters said loudly and clearly that guns and ammunition do not belong in the hands of dangerous individuals. But once again, the NRA has prioritized gun industry profits over the lives of law-abiding Californians." I'm guessing you would describe yourself as law-abiding.
I'm a law-abiding, non-dangerous person. I don't have any criminal record. It's just something that I've enjoyed my entire life. I started actually when I was very young. I actually competed all through high school, earning letters and actually varsity lettered for 4 years in high school here in California. And I've been able to compete for the last 6 Olympics, and I hope to compete for many more. But unfortunately, with these laws, I'm going to be having even more of a difficulty after 2019 of even being able to obtain my ammunition to maintain that level that I'm at and compete against some of the best in the world. And it's not just me. I know I'm on the extreme end because I shoot so much, but just every competitor out there. This is affecting just the everyday Joe Blow that goes out and wants to shoot. It is very, very restrictive, and in my case, I can't even get my ammo.
Well, our hat is off to you, no matter where folks stand on this gun control, gun rights issue. The fact that you've represented the U.S. so well time and time again, and we'll follow the case and see what resolution you ultimately get. Kim Brody, thanks for time.
Oh, no problem. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me.
All right, come back soon. All right, breaking news tonight from Texas. The Lone Star State marshaling forces leading a multi-state coalition in a huge legal challenge, this time to DACA. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joins us live to talk about that, and also those caravans of migrants traveling through Mexico hoping to gain asylum here in the U.S. He's next. Well, the caravan showdown is turning into a debate over asylum. What's better for the migrants, their home countries, and the U.S.? In searching for answers, the next stop is probably going to be, as it often is, the courts. National correspondent William Lajeunesse reports from Tijuana tonight about who's making it through.
I have faith that I will get across, and the first thing I want to do is work to give my girls a good future.
This family from El Salvador can see its future less than a mile away.
We felt bad because they didn't let them through, but here we are, and I believe and have faith in God that we will get across to the other side.
Sunday, the U.S. refused to accept caravan members, citing capacity issues. Monday, it relented, hearing 8 asylum claims from 3 women, 4 children, and an 18-year-old male.
We are happy celebrating. These are 8 families who don't have to suffer anymore, who have the opportunity to reach a court.
Roughly 150 caravan members wait in a makeshift camp next to the border for their turn to claim asylum. After their interview, some will be detained, others will be set free in the U.S.
When they show up in immigration court, if they show up in immigration court, the judges find very few. I think the last numbers I looked at, between 30 and 40% actually would have a credible fear finding.
Even this woman admits processing the caravan could encourage more Central Americans to make the trip and claim asylum.
Everything in our country is very dangerous, and what they're looking for is well-being for them where they're not in danger.
San Ysidro is the nation's busiest port of entry. This video shows how asylum cases are prioritized. Small refugee groups are moved onto a pedestrian causeway between the 2 countries. As of this morning, this group was next.
Morelia, Guadalajara,
We met this man from Mexico on Friday. He too hopes to claim asylum, though he is now pushed to the back of the line.
We've all lived the same experiences. We're all running from the same violence. I've talked to some of them, and we're all the same. We're looking for a better life.
28 caravan members have cleared asylum and are in U.S. detention. Immigration officials say they will process more as staff and space allow. Math tells us that clearing all 150 could take several more days. Shannon?
Our thanks to William Lajeunesse for that report. And this is a Fox News alert. At the same time those migrants are lining up at the U.S. border, the state of Texas is launching a new lawsuit with 6 other states to force the Trump administration to end DACA, the Obama-era program that provided work permits to hundreds of thousands of young illegal immigrants. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton joins us now live. General, great to have you with us tonight.
Good evening from Texas.
Okay, so I think this is so interesting because you guys are suing the Trump administration to get rid of DACA. The Trump administration has been trying to get rid of DACA. 3 federal judges have stopped them thus far. There are numerous cases proceeding out there. How do you hope with your lawsuit to get something done that the administration hasn't been able to get done?
Well, we're hoping that a federal judge will rule correctly, as they did last time on our DAPA lawsuit, that what President Obama did was unconstitutional and unlawful, and therefore end DACA and force either Congress to act or not act, but it should not be done unilaterally by a president.
All right. The chair of the Texas Democratic Party had this to say in response to your lawsuit today. Paxton's cruel anti-immigration agenda will rip over 124,000 Texans away from their families and jeopardize our economy. The average age of DACA participants at the time they arrive in the U.S. is 6.5 years old. They should feel safe and accepted in the only country they know to be their home. Your response?
So this is a man that doesn't understand the U.S. Constitution. My job as Attorney General, which he should understand, is to enforce the law and make sure that the Constitution is followed. In this case, we have a president, President Obama, who acted outside of his authority. If we allow that to happen in one case, we lose the whole idea that our founders so deeply cared about, which was separation of powers, and that one person cannot make unilateral decisions for the rest of us.
Okay, so another state rep there in Texas, Rafael Anchia, says this: instead of wasting taxpayer funds to pick on these Americans, he's calling them Americans without status, the Attorney General should join the bipartisan chorus calling on Congress to fix a broken immigration system that denies these kids their rightful place at the American table. A lot of folks point out rightly, they're not children now, most of them. It would be chronologically impossible based on the dates and who qualifies. But he says, listen, you should be using your voice to put pressure on Congress because they have tried and failed, really, you know, even just in the last few months on a number of bipartisan potential solutions. They can't seem to get it together on the Hill.
Well, at least Rafael Anchia, Representative Anchia, got it right. This is up to Congress, and that's where he stopped short. It is up to Congress. It is not up to a president. And so, look, Congress has the authority. They have the sole authority to change the law. We can't allow a president of the United States to just unilaterally come in and change the law, and that's what happened here.
Okay, in the meantime, we've been covering for weeks now the story of the caravan and different groups of people that are coming to the border. They are going to be asking for asylum, many of them. How does this work in Texas when they show up at your border?
Well, it's challenging for us when you have this many people coming to the border at the same time. That's one of the unfortunate parts of how these immigration groups are operating. They're bringing a large number of people at the same time, which makes it a lot more difficult to process and creates all kinds of challenges for my state and obviously other states. So I would say that's the biggest challenge. I wish they would do this in a more methodical way, but here we are. We'll deal with it as we get it.
Well, and what about the fact that they travel, many of them are not from Mexico, they've traveled through Mexico to get to Texas. What role do Mexican authorities play in, we're told at times, making safe passage or escort for these caravans so they can get through Mexico and to the U.S.?
I think President Trump has said it right. It'd be nice if Mexico would guard their own border at the south, because obviously that would have an impact on our border. That obviously is not happening. Mexico is allowing these people to cross through their entire country, and then it ends up being a problem for us. So it is unfortunate that Mexico is not doing their job.
Well, and I know that you've been involved in a number of the cases of underage minors coming across and then seeking abortions in the U.S. too, and I know you've worried that that is a magnet for them. Courts continue to order this administration to help facilitate that process. We'll keep an eye on that case and this new one today as well. Attorney General Paxton, great to have you with us.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Have a great evening.
You too. All right, President Trump's medical records taken from his longtime physician. Was it a raid or standard operating procedure? We'll get you the facts. You can decide. And a prom dress in the spotlight, a fashion statement or cultural appropriation. Is this a case of political correctness gone off the rails? We'll debate it next. For Donald Trump says he felt like his office was raided for the president's medical records last year. White House doesn't see it that way.
As is standard operating procedure for a new president, the White House medical unit took possession of the president's medical records.
It was characterized as a raid. Is that your understanding of what happened? The doctors seem to be pretty upset about it.
No, that is not my understanding.
What exactly were they looking for?
All his medical records, his pictures, anything they could find. We must have been here for 25 or 30 minutes.
All right, tonight's panel, Fox News contributor and townhall.com political editor Guy Benson and Democratic strategist, partner with Forward Solutions Strategy Group, Isaac Wright. Great to have you both with us tonight.
Hey, Shannon.
Does anyone think this is sort of a weird story? I don't know why it's coming up now more than a year later. Guy, what do you make of it?
It's a very weird story. There's no question about that. It is delayed, as you point out. Like, this would have been maybe a controversy at the time had the doctor said something when this all went down. Instead, we're finding out about it now. And there's this dispute between him and the White House. White House saying, nope, SOP, this is how it always goes. The president can get his records. The doctor saying they sort of strong-armed their way in here. There was a big guy who came in. I mean, I don't know how credible this doctor is. He's also saying Trump dictated that infamous letter where he said, oh, he's the most healthy president in the history of presidents or whatever, which I don't know how that works with medical ethics. I'm not quite sure who to believe here. I'm not sure this is a story that has tremendous legs, but I could be wrong.
Isaac, I'm still going to ask for your comment.
It's bizarre. I mean, let's be honest. If this were on a TV show, a serial drama, or a movie, we would all say it was too far-fetched. Nobody would put this in a script. I mean, it's just so bizarre from the beginning. The president dictated the letter. Now it's come up that a non-White House attorney, a private sector attorney, and 2 bodyguards showed up and demanded the records. But it all goes back to the president having his feelings hurt over the doctor revealing that he took a drug for male pattern baldness, right?
Well, that's
I mean, at some point, you're the president of the free world.
Right.
Grow up
Allegedly.
a little bit, get over the childishness and the recklessness, and just move on.
Yeah, that's the doctor's take on it. All right, I want to take you to another controversy. This is a young woman who went to prom in Utah. She found her dress in a secondhand store. She loved it. She thought it was beautiful, tweeted out pictures of it, and it looks like a traditional Chinese garment. And so not everyone was happy. She was actually surprised. An adult man retweeted her picture and said, "My culture is not your blank blank prom dress." He used some profanity there, and he's got hundreds of thousands of retweets on that. Isaac, it was a prom dress. You can see it there. The young woman says she completely taken off guard. She had no idea that she wasn't trying to create a controversy or insult anyone's culture.
I just got to start by saying I'm so glad this did not have the TV show reveal where you put all of our own high school prom pictures up on air.
No.
Personally, my high school mustache would just not be
Oh,
appropriate
high school
for TV.
mustache. Nice.
Look, I don't know. I don't know what was in the young woman's heart. Admittedly, I don't know enough about the cultural meaning and the heritage of the dress. I know it came about around the 1920s or 30s and had to do in China with some female liberation. But look, in the end, it's a good thing that we can have a conversation about what this means, about what cultural appropriation means. There have been people on all spectrums of the community who have said this was bad and insensitive, and folks who said it was a celebration of culture. I'm just glad that we're having a conversation about it.
Okay, so this is what she had to say in response. She said, "To everyone causing so much negativity, I mean no disrespect to the Chinese culture. I'm simply showing my appreciation to their culture. I'm not deleting my post because I've done nothing but show my love for the culture. It's a blanking dress, and it's beautiful." Guy?
Yes, amen to that. A refusal to apologize. She should not. I did notice that the person who supposedly took offense to her quote-unquote cultural appropriation had previously tweeted about himself eating Mexican food with chopsticks, which could be appropriation unto itself. This is political correctness gone bananas, gone bonkers. And this is what we do in America. It's a melting pot. We appreciate each other's cultures. Culture is the sort of amalgamation of other people's lives and other people's cultures, and that's how society evolves. You borrow from one another, you respect one another. This did not seem disrespectful at all to me, and she owes zero apology, and she offered none. Good.
Well, I'm going to apologize in advance in case my prom picture surfaces.
I'm waiting to see guys. He's the political correct police.
I look good, man. I look good.
Okay, we'll look for both of yours then. Guy and Isaac, thank you very much, both of you. Good to see you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Good to see you.
All right, President Trump honors a heroic pilot and her crew, some heroic passengers, too. That story coming up next. President Trump honoring the heroic pilot and crew of that Southwest Airlines flight that lost an engine mid-flight just days ago. The president praising Navy veteran and pilot Tammy Jo Schultz, who landed the plane safely despite that blown engine and a blown-out window. The president also paying tribute to Jennifer Riordan, the passenger who died on board the flight, and the heroic passengers who tried to save her. Most watched, most trusted, most grateful you spent the evening with us. Good night from Washington. I'm Shannon Bream.
It is Wednesday, May 2nd, and this is Fox and Friends First. Happening right now at 4 a.m. here on the East Coast, 2 major Mueller leaks in just 2 days, as Republicans set their sights on the man at the helm of the investigation.
And I think they should understand by now the department is going to be extorted.
So who is the leaker? The brand new developments while you were sleeping.
It's probably going to be announced over the next couple of days, location and date.
And the stage is set for the president's high-stakes sit-down. What we just learned about his face-to-face with Kim Jong-un. And thrill seekers get more than they bargained for. Stuck 100 feet above the ground for hours. Fox and Friends First starts right now. Yeah, I don't know if I'd be singing, but I would be saying, rescue me if I was 100 feet up and it took hours to get me down. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday morning, midway through the week. I'm Heather Childers. Lots of news to get for you this morning. Straight ahead to our top story. Let's begin there. A showdown is brewing between President Trump's lawyers and Robert Mueller. Leaks now show that the special counsel is considering a subpoena to get the president to talk. But GOP lawmakers also threatening to impeach Mueller's boss, Rod Rosenstein. Todd Pyro joins us now to break it all down. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, Heather. A lot going on as always. Special counsel Robert Mueller apparently told President Trump's legal team that he could subpoena the president to appear before a grand jury if Trump refuses an interview. That threat from a March meeting explained by Trump's former lead attorney, John Dowd. As you'll recall, Dowd resigned weeks later amid a dispute over how to answer Mueller's interview request. This latest twist comes a day after Fox News obtained a list of questions that Trump's legal team believes Mueller wants to ask. The possible questions cover Trump's interactions with key figures in the Russia saga, James Comey, Jeff Sessions, Mike Flynn, Michael Cohen, along with topics including a Moscow real estate deal, meetings with Vladimir Putin, and any back channels set up by Jared Kushner to talk to Russia before the inauguration. As you might imagine, President Trump not happy with the leak, tweeting, quote, "So disgraceful that the questions concerning the Russian witch hunt were leaked to the media. No questions on collusion. Oh, I see. You have a made-up phony crime, collusion that never existed, and an investigation begun with illegally leaked classified information. Nice." End quote. Dowd denies he is the leaker, although apparently the White House is skeptical because the leak frames Dowd in a pretty heroic role. Meantime, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein dismissed reports that House Republicans are mulling articles of impeachment against him.
There have been people who have been making threats privately and publicly against me for quite some time, and I think they should understand by now the Department of Justice is not going to be extorted. We're going to do what's required by the rule of law, and any kind of threats that anybody makes are not going to affect the way we do our job.
A group of GOP lawmakers led by House Freedom Caucus Chair Mark Meadows have reportedly drafted 8 articles of impeachment against Rosenstein.
Well, I know that a lot of people have mixed opinions on this. They were talking about it all night last night. Byron York was one of them, and he said that there's not a whole lot of new information in these questions. Listen.
There's not a whole lot new in these questions. When you look at some of the areas, Michael Flynn, Comey, Sessions, and collusion, it doesn't indicate that Mueller has come up with some completely new area of inquiry that we didn't know about before. Actually, this is pretty much what we have been talking about for the last year or so. So from that point, it seems to me that the Trump people should be somewhat relieved in the sense that we seem to know everything that he is talking about.
Sounds like a morning show segment. Okay, relieved as to the content, but as I've been saying throughout, I almost would say the content doesn't matter. This is all about a perjury trap for the President of the United States to catch him in something a la Martha Stewart. Right. That's the focus. That's what they're going for. The President needs to make sure these questions are answered in written form, not in something oral.
Which is why some people are saying they believe that this came from somewhere, someone that supports President Trump, because it shows why the president wouldn't agree to go and be questioned by Mueller. But at the same time, it also shows that you have a person and you're going after a crime versus having a crime going after a person, which is the way it's supposed to be.
It's dirty. It's definitely dirty pool, but this is how the government gets people. And that's what they're apparently trying to do to President Trump in this situation. To your point, Heather, I wouldn't be surprised if this leak was from the White House, even though everybody's denying that, to try to get him, hey, President, you really need to answer these questions written.
Or someone trying to make it look like it's the White House.
So many layers.
A tangled weave. All right, thank you so much, Todd. Well, we have some other stories that we are following for you. The U.S. soldier gunned down in Afghanistan on Monday was part of the Pentagon's counterterrorism mission. A 22-year-old Army specialist, Gabriel Conde, was killed outside Kabul on his first deployment. His parents in Colorado say that he defined the word bravery.
He was called to be a warrior.
I feel very proud of who he is. He's the kind of son that any mother would be proud to have.
Well, Conde joined the Army in 2015. This marks the second U.S. combat death in Afghanistan this year. And our prayers with his family. Well, a Russian fighter jet buzzes a U.S. spy plane, taunting it over the Baltic Sea. Defense officials saying that the Russian jet performed a safe but unprofessional intercept, coming within 20 feet of the U.S. Navy aircraft. However, American pilots tell officials that they never actually felt threatened. This is the first incident between Russian and American military aircraft since January, when a Russian fighter jet came within 5 feet of a U.S. Navy spy plane. Well, the Trump administration now facing some big foreign policy developments, to say the very least, on two major fronts. Iran firing back at Israel over its nuclear claims, while John Kerry defends the Obama-era deal. This, as plans for that historic face-to-face meeting with Kim Jong-un could be revealed at any time. And Griff Jenkins is live for us in Washington, D.C. with all of the details. Very busy place.
It is, Heather. Good morning. There's a lot on the president's plate, and according to him, we may soon learn details of that North Korean summit.
We're setting up meetings right now, and I think it's probably going to be announced over the next couple of days, location and date. The main thing is to get it done.
This is a deadline for President Trump to make a decision on the Iran nuclear deal. It's just 10 days away as Iran's foreign minister is firing back at Netanyahu's revelations of that archive of stolen plans. The minister's spokesman calling Netanyahu an infamous liar who has had nothing to offer except lies and deceits. And Minister Zarif taking to Twitter to take a shot at Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, saying on 4/12, Pompeo testified no need to worry about nixing JCPOA as Iran not racing to a weapon before the deal, nor would turn to race to weapon after. Now says time to revisit question of whether Iran can be trusted to enrich any nuclear material. So which one is it? And Iran's foreign minister isn't the only one tweeting. Former Secretary of State John Kerry, who led the negotiations on the deal, defended it, saying it's working and warned against pulling out of the deal, here saying every detail Prime Minister Netanyahu presented yesterday was every reason the world came together to apply years of sanctions and negotiate the Iran nuclear agreement because the threat was real and had to be stopped. It's working. That's why Israeli security experts are speaking out. As for the incoming Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo praised the staff at the department he'll soon lead.
You're patriots and great Americans, and because you want to be an important part of America's face to the world, my mission will be to lead you. The United States diplomatic corps needs to be in every corner, every stretch of the world, executing missions on behalf of this country.
And a little later today, around 11 a.m., Heather, the president will swear in Mike Pompeo at the State Department.
All right, and we will be there covering that as well. Thank you so much, Griff. Great to see you. Well, any country exempt from new metal tariffs will face some tough restrictions like quotas. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro says that it's a matter of national security. And this decision, it comes after President Trump postponed imposing steel and aluminum tariffs on the European Union, Canada, and Mexico this week. Agreements must now be worked out by June 1st. And President Trump honoring the heroic crew of that deadly Southwest flight at the White House. The commander-in-chief paying special tribute to Captain Tammy Jo Schultz, the former Navy pilot who executed an emergency landing.
Captain Schultz, I especially want to commend you for your life-saving actions. It's everybody's talking about it. They're still talking about it. They'll be talking about it for a long time. The actions of the crew and passengers of Southwest Flight 1380 show the great character of our nation. We're very, very proud of them, and God bless you all.
The president also honoring Jennifer Reardon. She was the mother of two who lost her life after being nearly sucked out of a window when an engine exploded. The incident is still under investigation. And today, the president will once again lay down the welcome mat for the best teachers in America. He will meet and speak with teachers of the year from all over the country. The winners selected by a panel of judges in each state or U.S. territory. And before heading to the White House, the teachers met with Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. My sister happens to be the best in the country. It's my personal opinion. Well, the time now is about 10 minutes after the top of the hour. And check your pet at the gate, the airline that just banned dozens of dogs and cats from flying their friendly skies.
We're hoping that a federal judge will rule correctly that what President Obama did was unconstitutional and unlawful, and therefore end DACA.
And DACA back on the docket, what the new legal showdown means for dreamers. And losing liquor to cut calories. The diet vodka about to hit store shelves. We are back with some extreme weather to tell you about. The first tornadoes of the year, carving this path of destruction. This is across the Midwest. The dark funnel cloud touching down in Oklahoma near the Kansas border. More twisters expected this morning as the dangerous system pushes through Kansas and into Nebraska. So be aware of this. Powerful winds, golf ball-sized hail sweeping across Iowa. Meteorologist Janice Dean will have more in the next hour. And as the caravan of migrants demand asylum in the U.S., Texas now leading a pack of states in suing the Trump administration to force an end to DACA. Now, it is a plan that could throw another wrench into an already very messy legal situation. Jackie Ibanez joins us now with that story. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Heather. The Trump administration tried ending the Obama-era program, which protects young illegal immigrants, also known as dreamers, who came to the U.S. as children, but was blocked by 3 federal judges. Now, Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana, Nebraska, South Carolina, and West Virginia join Texas. They're trying to force a change. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton says former President Obama unlawfully started the DACA program back in 2012, which protects nearly 700,000 immigrants.
We're hoping that a federal judge will rule correctly, as they did last time on our DAPA lawsuit, that what President Obama did was unconstitutional and unlawful, and therefore end DACA and force either Congress to act or not act, but it should not be done unilaterally by a president.
While the future of DACA waits in limbo, so does the caravan on migrants on the border. So far, 28 of them have been cleared and are being held in the U.S., while more than 100 wait to hear their fate.
Everything in our country is very dangerous, and what they're looking for is well-being for them where they're not in danger.
We've all lived the same experiences. We're all running from the same violence. I've talked to some of them, and we're all the same. We're looking for a better life.
Vice President Mike Pence says the caravan is exposing the weaknesses of U.S. immigration law.
This situation is a direct result of our weak immigration law and our porous border. But under this president, we will uphold our laws, defend our sovereignty, and we will protect the borders of the United States of America.
As for ending DACA, this latest lawsuit could potentially move the issue to the Supreme Court.
All right. Thank you very much, Jackie. Appreciate it. Great to have you with us. Well, banks and credit card companies now exploring ways to track your gun purchases. Now, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that companies are considering creating a new credit card code for gun dealers. It would be similar to how the code works for restaurants and department stores. Also being considered tracking what types of guns are being purchased and how often. Banks could potentially use that data to restrict purchases at certain businesses. Well, United Airlines will soon let pets fly in cargo again, but they'll have some much tougher restrictions. The decision comes after a series of high-profile animal incidents that have happened this year you're aware of. Of course, that includes this French bulldog that died on a flight in March. 25 dogs and cat breeds will be banned from the cargo hold for health reasons that may make it unsafe for them to fly. Animals will also be banned from traveling to 4 airports this summer over concerns of high temperatures. Well, the time now is about 17 minutes after the top of the hour, and liberals triggered over this new campaign ad. Look.
Jake asked why I was running for governor.
A healthy appreciation for the Second Amendment, sir.
Well, the Republican candidates running for Georgia governor taking some heat for supporting our Second Amendment. Brian Kemp joins us live with a message to his critics.
Crumbs that they are giving. Should they mow the grass so that people can't hide in it? Bowl of doggy-doo, put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae.
So have you heard enough from Nancy Pelosi? Well, buckle up, brace for more. Carly Shimkus is here with her bold new prediction.
Should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay?